This past Saturday, Aidan Hutchinson cemented himself as one of the players that now can push Kayvon Thibodeau for the number one overall draft selection in this upcoming 2022 draft, following his performance against Ohio State in the game. I was not as high on Aidan Hutchinson as a lot of people were at the start of the season, and as the season went on, with games against Washington and Wisconsin, I eventually moved him up to a top maybe 10 player in this class, but not really a top 10 worthy grade. Following this game, I think he's easily the third best player in this draft class. There's kind of a tier. If you were to set up a tier list, it would go Thibodeau, Kyle Hamilton, and now Aidan Hutchinson in a top tier. So we're going to go through and we're going to break down some of the film in this game just to show you why he has risen so much and how good of a game he actually had against Ohio State. So welcome to Break It Down, Aidan Hutchinson versus Ohio State. Our first play comes 7 minutes and 6 seconds into the first quarter. Michigan up 7-0. Aidan Hutchinson is lined up on the top of your screen against Jeremy Ruckert, the tight end, and the right tackle of Ohio State. It is going to be a run play, a stretch to the right side, more of a zone handoff, where Aidan knows his role is to keep the outside leverage and containment since he only has a corner outside of that, and his main focus is to check the wide receiver first off and foremost. So Aidan takes on the tight end here, shows off his hand power against someone smaller than him. All great DNs in the NFL should be able to manhandle some tight ends and not be blocked up by them, especially in the run game if that's what they want to hang their hat on. And Aidan Hutchinson is definitely a smart player who's great against the run. He uses his strong hands to set the edge here, and then finally, once the running back commits to taking it inside, he gets off the block and is able to make a tackle for a minimum gain. Now that he's given us a quick example of how well he defends the run in specific situations where he can use his strength against smaller opponents, now we have him get at the top of the screen. The Michigan is showing an all-out blitz. This is a 3rd and goal. Michigan still up by a touchdown, and this play isn't really a play that we're going to focus on a lot just because it gets called for a false start. But in this play, Aidan shows off his favorite move, which is he takes first his initial step to the outside, having the offensive tackle commit to it. And as soon as he does, he takes another quick jab step inside and crosses the tackle's face. He isn't the most agile player, but when he does this move, he's so quick and he uses his hands especially well. It's either a rip move or he likes to swat away the tackle's hands, being able to cross his face and get inside. It works especially well here with an outside blitzer potentially, so the offensive tackle has to honor that as well. So Aidan gets a free rush right into the inside. Of course, it's called dead, but it sets up for the next play where he actually is able to get a sack with the same exact move, which we'll show in 1 second. Here we are following the false start penalty, and now Aidan Hutchinson lines up wide outside of the top of your screen against the same offensive tackle, and he does his same step to the outside, forcing the offensive tackle to commit to taking a deep drop back before he stutter steps and forces himself inside. Now the offensive tackle is able to get hands on him, but he uses his power, his core strength to run through that contact, rip through, and get to the quarterback to make a clutch sack in the red zone. This play really shows off his favorite move and his agility within what coaches like to say, within a phone booth, where he isn't going to be able to run around you and be that bendy kind of edge rusher, which we'll show off in a little bit here. But with this move specifically and moving to his inside, he's able to take one step and burst into the inside despite not being the most bursty of players. And using his strength that he has, which is one of his biggest traits, he's able to rip through the contact and get to the quarterback despite the offensive tackle trying to make up for his mistake of initially kicking too deeply. I know I just got done talking about how he isn't the most elite of benders around the edge, Aidan Hutchinson, but he is able to still perform it decently well. He does have some bend ability. It's not like he has nothing. So in this play, he gets pressure on the quarterback by attacking the outside hip of the tackle. First, he engages him, uses his length to bench press the tackle off of him to give him some space, and then shows off some good hip flexibility here to try to get around the tackle. Now, he isn't the most explosive when he's bending around the tackle like this, but using his length to make space for him instead of having to use his speed allows him to get a good angle and get to the quarterback. So this just shows that he's able to do the bend around thing that most of those elite edge rushers, like you see like a Von Miller or a Myles Garrett, can do. He's not the most athletic, so it's not the cleanest or the most fluid and most explosive, but he's still capable of doing so with the flexibility he has, and he shows here that he can use his hands smartly to set it up and use his length to give him some space to activate it. Now that we've shown that he can do the outside bend, we go to the next play I'm going to show you here. 1st and 10, 13 minutes and 16 seconds left in the second quarter, and he's going against the same exact tackle he just bent around to try to get some pressure on the quarterback. This play, he gets pressure again, but this time the offensive tackle, like he did before, takes too deep of a drop, so Aidan's able to do his favorite little move to go inside, swim, or knock away the hands on the inside move and get to the quarterback, force some pressure. This is going to combine with the play we saw before, where he bended around, he was using his bend and to get around the outside edge of the tackle, so now that's able to set up this counter, so now offensive tackle has to honor that, even though it's not his best strong suit, he can still do it. So the tackle honoring it forces him to take that too deep of a drop when he gives you that fake outside explosive step before he cuts back inside and is giving a free rush to the passer. Now the quarterback eludes him here, but he still is able to show that he can get pressure and set up counters and has a whole arsenal that he can use throughout a game when an offensive tackle thinks they have a way to counter him. Our next play comes 3 minutes and 51 seconds into the second quarter. Hutchinson is now on the bottom of your screen going against the right tackle again, opposed to the left tackle as he just did before. Here he shows that inconsistent flexibility I was talking about before. He used it well in that first play I showed you that I was talking about to set up, and then since he did it well that first play, he was able to set up that counter in the next play after that. But now, further into the second quarter, he tries to do another outside rush move, and the offensive tackle is able to get some hands on him. Now, players who have elite flexibility and explosiveness in their ankles and hips are in this situation should be able to unlock that and just keep fighting through the contact, whereas because the offensive tackle has leverage on his upper body, using his lower body and his core to just bend around the guy and get through it. Using that, you can be slippery and get around this. Where Hutchinson here, he gets caught up on the offensive tackle's hands, and because he's not able to activate his hips and his ankle flexibility as some guys, like I said, like Von Miller, even Kayvon Thibodeau in this draft class can, he's not able to get around this tackle soon enough to get pressure on him on this screenplay here. He heads back up to the top of our screen in his next play, 3 minutes, 33 seconds into the second, 1st and 10. It's going to be a run play to the outside and the left, so he takes on Jeremy Ruckert, the tight end, and Nicholas Petit-Frere, left tackle of Ohio State. Both draftable players and probably going to be in the top, Petit-Frere could be a first-round pick. Jeremy Ruckert, late day 2, early day 3 kind of tight end, who is really good at blocking. He gets doubled by both of these NFL prospects and is able to fight through it. Gets off of the left tackle, Petit-Frere, takes on the tight end by himself, which we've seen earlier he can do with the same tight end with his strength, and he's able to get off and make a play against the run for minimum gain. So he's able to fight off this double team with the strength and power he has against legit NFL talent who people believe can come in and start pretty early on, and it makes a play on the running back while still having to deal with outside leverage and making sure he doesn't break it outside. So he waits until he commits inside, fights through the double team, and makes the play on the run here. Speaking of his power, now he's going to marry that together with his outside fake that he showed off earlier because he can do the bending. He does the inside move, so now the offensive tackle plays it pretty well here, the right tackle down here at the bottom of your screen. And it's 30 seconds left in the second quarter, so they are looking to pass to try and get a score to either get ahead or get it within 1 point to end the half here. Hutchinson goes upfield for his first step, causing the offensive tackle to take that step, but he doesn't give up too much ground on the inside. So Aidan Hutchinson's able to use his power that he's previously shown in these clips we've shown with him running against the run, and just runs and pushes his tackle right into the lap of his quarterback, causing... It's not a terrible throw, but a throw that's much less comfortable than a quarterback would like to make there. So he has the power in the run game. He also shows that he can use his hands, get inside leverage with his hands, to get the inside leverage, he uses that threat of the outside rush and also the inside counter to be able to open the tackle up, and he's unsure where he's going to go with it. So then he's able to attack the inside of the shoulder pads, and he has the power to drive that offensive tackle into the quarterback's lap. We have another play here against NPF, Nicholas Petit-Frere. I'm going to keep calling him NPF from now just to save some time. He does the same thing we talked about in the last clip. This is now in the third quarter. The Ohio State's down by 8. They're driving 1st and 10. And Aidan Hutchinson uses his power, gets his hands on the inside of NPF's shoulder pad. So he gets the good leverage and has that power to bring him back. Now, NPF is a really good anchor kind of player. So he's not going to be blown back such as the right tackle in the last play was. But Aidan Hutchinson realizes this and has hand counters to counter it. So his first initial move, his bull rush, is successful where he gets his hands where he wants to be, but it isn't pushing the offensive tackle back to the quarterback. He's not going to be able to get the sack or get a good enough pressure based on this move. Realizing this, he's able to use a counter where he can do a dip and rip off of this because he has the inside control. And since he's so smooth, fluid, and a great technician with it, while also having the leverage already because he established that early on with his fake outside step, he forces the NPF to hold him and backs the offensive line up 10 yards, so now it's going to be 1st and 20 after this. So using his technique and his power and all the things we've established up to this point in the game, he's still adding different layers to his game, which is throwing these offensive tackles for a loop and getting good plays for the defense. This next play is 2nd and 9, and it's a similar one to we've seen before, where he sets up the outside rush with the outside step before countering back inside. But opposed to his other ones where he just does a stutter step and jumps inside, he throws off a club swim move here before getting stopped up by a running back. So they've now flexed the running back over to stop him because he's that much of a force. And again, this is against the left tackle on PF, so he's a decent pass blocker. I'll give him that. I have like a 2nd round grade on him, so. This is a good player, and he's able to set him up with that outside foot, which if you can tell, he hasn't really used his outside move since that first quarter, or that first couple plays I've showed you. So the fear of that is still there, despite, like, again, he's not being the most athletic or most bendy player. He still has the ability to beat you that way. So these offensive tackles know this, and they know that if he goes outside, we have to try to stop him there, and then using that swim move, a different move he hasn't used yet in this film, he's able to get inside and gets met with the running back before the ball gets out pretty quickly. But if the ball was held for another 1 or 2 seconds, Hutchinson probably would have gotten through the running back and got a sack there. So he has a lot in his toolkit, and he's able to gel all these different aspects of his game together. Now, this play is another one where most people who go and just watch his highlights won't be able to see this play, but this was what confirmed me, because when I first watched him before the season started, I wasn't that impressed with his length or his ability to disengage from blocks. And this one of these plays where I see it and I'm like, wow, I'm actually impressed by that. Again, he's manned up with the tight end. The tight end is just, his job is to seal the back end of this run play, not allow Hutchinson to, get off, make a play. Or, also set it up for maybe a read option play down the road where Hutchinson now is getting sucked in. He is in a Jim Harbaugh defense, so they're very well taught on the ends here, but so he doesn't immediately attack the run play from behind, but he uses his length. He shows off a great length. He has so much space between him and Ruckert here, the blocker, and he's able to disengage, fill the gap right behind, so he's not taking himself out of the play in case it was coming back the other way. Identifies where the ball is going before he attacks it, so he is not over-aggressive on the run game, allowing himself open up for a read option play further down the game, and he just plays it super perfectly and shows off his amazing length and hand power here versus the run. So I just thought this was a good one to throw in that isn't just like a highlight of his. This next play, 9 minutes left in the third quarter, is another sack for Aidan Hutchinson. It isn't going to be one of those sacks where he shows off how amazing his moves are, his pass rush moves, or his ability to get to the quarterback by himself is. What this play shows is he attacks on the outside again, so he has to, make sure the offensive tackle honors it. Offensive tackle plays it well, the right tackle here. But Hutchinson shows off that length and disengageability once again. So I set it up in the last play against that tight end versus the run, where he was in the back end of the play. It wasn't really any highlight-worthy play or tackle or anything, but he showed that, yes, he consistently comes up and makes plays where he is extending out, playing smart, getting eyes on the football, despite the play going the opposite direction if he's in. This time, he gets extension and eyes on the ball despite not beating off his tackle with his initial move, and the quarterback, who now has to bail out because he has a decent pass rush coming at him from his left side, runs right into Hutchinson, who, because he has such good length and has good leverage on the offensive tackle, can disengage right away and make that tackle before the quarterback can even make a move. So he has to tackle exactly where he wants here, and is able to get the sack because he has put himself in such a good position to succeed despite not actually throwing a move out on him or beating him off the snap. Speaking of his power, now he's going to marry that together with his outside fake that he showed off earlier, because he can do the bending, he does the inside move, so now the offensive tackle plays it pretty well here, the right tackle down here at the bottom of your screen. And it's 30 seconds left in the second quarter, so they are looking to pass to try and get a score to either get ahead or get it within 1 point to end the half here. Hutchinson goes upfield for his first step, causing the offensive tackle to take that step, but he doesn't give up too much ground on the inside. So Aidan Hutchinson's able to use his power that he's previously shown in these clips we've shown with him running against the run, and just runs and pushes his tackle right into the lap of his quarterback, causing, it's not a terrible throw, but a throw that's much less comfortable than a quarterback would like to make there. So he has the power in the run game. He also shows that he can use his hands, get inside leverage with his hands, to get the inside leverage, he uses that threat of the outside rush and also the inside counter to be able to open the tackle up, and he's unsure where he's going to go with it, so then he's able to attack the inside of the shoulder pads, and he has the power to drive that off the tackle into the quarterback's lap. Now we jump to 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, 4th and 7. Here he is against the left tackle, NPF, Nicholas Petit-Frere. I don't want to give you a little reminder of what his name actually was, because he's a really good NFL prospect. Go look him up. I'm not just pulling your leg. He's actually going to embarrass this man. A second-round prospect in my book. He comes off, and he gets the good leverage with his hands, where he's able to get the inside of his shoulder pads, which is exactly where you want your hands to be as a defender, because that way you have full control. And he just bulldozes right through him, knocks him on his ass, gets right to the quarterback. It's one of his best bull rushes of his career. Again, it's similar to when Ronnie Perkins bull rushed, or he long armed Tevin Jenkins last year, and it was super impressive. But this time it's Aidan Hutchinson, who has all the other tools that Perkins didn't have, and now he's showing that he can just bull rush over NFL offensive tackles. So he just bulls right through MPF here and causes some pressure, which affects the throw to. Now, this next play comes a few snaps after he bull rushes over NPF, and it's an inside move where he gets some good pressure in the face of CJ Stroud, causing, I believe, an incompletion. Let me run the tape real quick again. Yeah, so it's a poor throw with an incompletion because of his pressure. And because of that play before where he bull rushed over MPF, he comes at him with the exact same move where he comes in, he's like, okay, I'm going to run right through you again. So MPF is getting ready, he's getting his anchor good. Hutchinson gets hands onto him with his great length, and instead of going in trying to push right through him again, because MPF is, getting himself ready for it again, he's letting up the inside foot, plus the defensive tackle next to Hutchinson has drawn the guard a little further over, giving him some space. So he immediately throws on the rip. He gets his hands on, starts bull rushing, throws a rip on, gets through him, and gets pressure in the face of CJ Stroud, forcing a high incompletion. This is the last snap of the game I'm going to show here. Crunch time, 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, up by 15. The Michigan defense is coming after the passer, CJ Stroud, and in this play, Aidan Hutchinson on the bottom of your screen again going against the right tackle. I know I've been knocking him for not being the most bendy and a super athletic player he is. He's still a very successful edge rusher, and like I said, third best player in this draft class. So I'm going to show you this play right here where he gets his length on him, he gets his hands in a good position, does a one-handed long arm, which you don't see that often from his tape, and is able to bend at the hip and a little bit at the ankles to get around the offensive tackle here and get a hand up trying to knock the ball away. He gets held a little bit, in my opinion. The offensive tackle stops running his feet, so I think that probably might have been called, but it was kind of crunch time. They want to call it. But it just shows that Hutchinson is able to have that bend, use that long arm, has that in his arsenal, even though it's not his best or favorite move. He can still whip it out and use it and make offensive tackles have to honor that. So this is one of those last plays I was talking about where the offensive tackles have to honor his play. This is one which they probably saw on tape. He can use this, and this is him using it right here. So despite me knocking him on his bend all this entire film session, I'm going to say that he still has the ability to do it at an NFL level. So there you go. That's the end of my Aidan Hutchinson tape review of Ohio State. He played an amazing game, and if I wasn't such a big fan of Kayvon Thibodeaux, I would say he would have just ran away with the number 1 overall pick after this game, but I definitely think he should be a top 3 pick, if not a top 2 pick. So tell me what you think about this. Tell me if I should do more game-specific breakdowns or go back to doing just overall player breakdowns with different tapes. But as for right now, this is it for this episode, and I'll catch you with my next prospect breakdown.